Good evening and welcome to Just the News. I'm Faye D'Souza. Thank you for joining us. Let's get straight to the headlines. The big headline, of course, is that the Bombay High Court today granted bail to Aryan Khan and two other accused in the drug bust case on board the cruise ship of the 3rd of October. Justice Sambre, who was hearing that plea, said all three pleas are allowed. I will pass detailed orders by tomorrow evening, which means it's only after the detailed order is passed and a copy of it is submitted to the jail that Aryan Khan will be let out of jail. So it's likely to happen tomorrow evening or the day after tomorrow. The NCB opposed the bail, reiterating that Aryan Khan was not new to drugs and had dealt with peddlers. Mukul Rohtgi, senior advocate of the Supreme Court, who argued for Khan in court, contested that the NCB could not prove that there was a conspiracy, as they claimed. Senior advocate and former Attorney General of India Mukul Rohtgi concluded his arguments on Tuesday. He said the arrest was arbitrary and the NCB had made no recovery from the 23-year-old, nor had conducted any medical examination on the consumption of narcotics. In the meantime, the officer in question, Sameer Wankhede, has approached the Bombay High Court asking for protection against arrest from the Mumbai police in the corruption case. That case was dismissed by the Bombay High Court after the Mumbai police said it will give him 3 days' notice before it arrests him in that corruption case. The thing, of course, and this is something to note, that Sameer Wankhede's family members have been drawn into controversy in all of this. At the end of the day, whether he is of a particular religion or who his family members are irrelevant to public opinion. The matter that needs to be actually investigated is whether or not someone in a powerful public position is in fact corrupt. That's the only question that needs to be asked and answered. Moving on to Tripura, there were reports over the last 24 hours of a mosque being vandalized, 2 shops set on fire and 3 homes being ransacked by people during a Vishwa Hindu Parishad rally that was incidentally organized to protest the recent vandalization of Durga Puja pandals in Bangladesh. The Tripura police, meanwhile, have said the situation is now under control and the law and order is under control, contrary to fake news they have said being spread on social media. The Tripura police has tweeted that certain persons are using fake social media IDs and spreading fake news and rumors on Tripura. And it is informed that the law and order situation in the state is absolutely normal, end quote. They also tweeted that no mosque was burnt in Panisagar in North Tripura. The tweet read, and I quote, "During yesterday's protest rally in Panisagar, North Tripura, no masjid was burnt. The pictures being shared of burning and damaged masjid or the collection of sticks are all fake and not from Tripura. They may be of some countries. We've registered cases and legal action will be taken against those spreading fake news and communally sensitive rumors," end quote. The local administration, meanwhile, imposed Section 144 in Panisagar and Dharmanagar subdivisions. Remember, the Indian Express and several other news sources carried a story yesterday on their front page about the fact that there were homes and shops that were ransacked of minority communities in Tripura and one mosque was vandalized. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has said that the sedition law, which is a very strict law, will be invoked against those celebrating Pakistan's victory over India in the T20 World Cup held in Dubai on Sunday. Now, the Chief Minister made the remarks in an interview with a Hindi newspaper, which was then shared on the official handle of his office. Yogi Adityanath's statement comes a day after the Uttar Pradesh police booked 3 Kashmiri students in Agra for allegedly raising anti-national slogans after the match was over. Administration of the Raja Balwant Singh Engineering Technical College, which rusticated those 3 students, which has basically removed them from the college, has announced that the college will be shut until action is taken against those who forcibly entered the college on Tuesday, demanding the arrest of the Kashmiri students. According to the Agra Superintendent of Police, an FIR has been registered under the sections 153 promoting of enmity between groups and 505 whoever makes, publishes and circulates or spreads a rumor, and punishment for cyber terrorism against the Kashmiri students. Indian Express reported that so far 7 people have been booked by the Uttar Pradesh police across 5 districts. Incidentally, though, the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh has not made it clear if he only means celebration of this one match that happened on Sunday, whether he means only celebration in cricket, only this particular tournament, or only Pakistan's victory, and if people in his state are allowed to celebrate other country teams playing well in cricket, or is that banned as well? So, if he means this to pass as a law, he has to be a little clearer about what he means. In Rajasthan, though, Nafisa Attari, a private school teacher in Rajasthan's Udaipur, was expelled from her job after she posted a WhatsApp status celebrating allegedly Pakistan's win over India at the T20 World Cup. She was arrested on Wednesday and later released on bail. Nafisa put out a picture of Pakistani players with the caption "Jeet gaye," meaning they won. She was arrested under IPC section 153B, which is assertions that are prejudicial to national integrity. The SHO of the Ambamata police station said, and I quote, "We arrested her on Wednesday, booked her under IPC 153B and produced her before the court. She will be released, or she was later released on bail," end quote. In a video statement that she did put out, Nafisa Attari said that her family was playing a game where they divided themselves into two teams and they were supporting both sides of the match. She meant it as a joke. She doesn't support Pakistan, end quote. Bajrang Dal members have threatened the owners of two venues in Mumbai where comedian Munawar Farooqi's shows were scheduled to take place. The shows were to take place on the 29th of October at a hall in Borivali West and the 30th and the 31st of October at the Rangsharda Auditorium in Bandra West. But the organizers say the shows had to be called off abruptly on Wednesday after right-wing groups ran an online hate campaign against Farooqi and threatened the hall owners. Speaking to the Indian Express, Purnima Shah, the owner of the Rangsharda Auditorium in Bandra, said, and I quote, "Before this incident, two people from the Bajrang Dal threatened my staff over the phone. Police had come then too, and we provided them with the phone numbers of the callers. We've given it in writing that we're cancelling the shows because of these threats," end quote. According to Indian Express, Manohar Danavde, the police inspector at Bandra station, said, "We've given a warning to Bajrang Dal that action will be taken against it if it creates any issue. We've also served notice to the organizers," end quote. Remember, Munawar Farooqi was arrested on the 1st of January this year from a venue in Indore before his show even started, and he was held in jail for a month before he was granted bail by the Supreme Court. And he was apparently arrested for jokes that he intended to make, that he hadn't even made. A quick look at our COVID numbers coming in at this point. India reported 16,156 COVID cases. That's 20% higher than yesterday. We also recorded 733 deaths from COVID in the last 24 hours. Kerala reported 7,738 new cases in the last 24 hours. There is, of course, talk of a new variant that's still being looked at by the government. So as of now, there's no need to panic. Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia yesterday said the government is going to launch a mega door-to-door COVID vaccination campaign called Har Ghar Dastak. The campaign will be launched next month with a special focus given to the 48 districts in the country where less than 50% of the eligible population has been vaccinated so far. News coming in from the world of business right now. The Sensex ended down about 1,158 points today. That's a loss of nearly 2%. The Nifty as well lost about 350 points. That was 2%. This is the biggest loss since April 30th this year. This comes after the RBI apparently said it will drain cash from the banking system for longer periods, spurring concerns that the move may temper the gains of the equity market driven by record low policy rates and a retail investing boom. Now, market analysts have said that a fall could be deeper over the next couple of weeks, and investors should really hang in there and avoid panic selling and seek professional advice. On the benchmark, on the BSE, ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, Kotak Mahindra, ITC, Reliance Industries and Infosys were among the biggest laggards of the day. L&T, IndusInd Bank and Asian Paints were among the top gainers. Petrol prices increased again. This is now the 16th increase in the month of October alone. The price was increased by 35 paise. Petrol in Mumbai will now cost you 114 rupees and 14 paise per litre, and diesel will cost you 105 rupees and 12 paise. Delhi is 108 rupees and 29 paise for petrol, and diesel is about 97 rupees and 2 paise. And I don't have to tell you, you know these are the highest ever prices we have seen so far. There are reports, though, interestingly, that have come out that the Indian government's collection of taxes, specifically from petrol, because of petrol, has gone up and shot up far more than was expected and budgeted for this year. So the government has made a windfall profit, but has still not found the need to reduce the taxes on humanitarian grounds and ease the burden on the common man. The IPO of Nykaa was fully subscribed on Thursday for the first of the 3-day offering, which closes on the 1st of November. The firm fixed a price band on the IPO of about 1,085 until 1,125 rupees per share. They're looking at a valuation of $7.4 billion, which is 52,574 crore rupees. Nykaa was founded by former investment banker Falguni Nayar in 2012. She's a celebrated women entrepreneur in India, and it has a cumulative download of 55.8 million across their mobile applications. Let's taking a look at news coming in from across the world right now. Hong Kong's legislature has passed a new film censorship law to what it calls safeguard national security. This legislation criminalizes secession, subversion, terrorism and collusion with foreign forces. It does seem, though, in a reaction to the pro-democracy protests that we saw in 2019 before COVID hit the world. Film censorship law was approved in the Opposition Free Legislative Council. It gives the Chief Secretary, the second most powerful figure in the city administration, power to revoke a film's license if it is found to endorse, support, glorify, encourage or incite activities that might endanger national security. According to BBC, the punishment for violating this law is up to 3 years in prison. An update on Sudan. The World Bank has suspended its financial aid to Sudan following the military coup. This comes after the US froze its $700 million in aid. The president of the World Bank said in a statement, and I quote, "I am deeply concerned about the recent events in Sudan. I fear the dramatic impact this will have on the country's social and economic recovery and development." As of March this year, the Republic of Sudan had re-engaged with the World Bank and gained access to nearly $2 billion in grants for poverty reduction and sustainable economic recovery. In the meantime, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi urged the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund to resume financial support of Afghanistan for reconstruction. The IMF and the World Bank had halted financial aid to Afghanistan after the Taliban took over. China said it will personally send $30 million worth of emergency humanitarian assistance to Afghanistan. The IMF said that the banks in Afghanistan are running out of money, civil servants have not been paid, and food prices have begun to soar. The country's economy has contracted 30% this year, and that a possible refugee and humanitarian crisis is looming. Update from the world of sports. Australian footballer, Adelaide United midfielder Josh Cavallo has opened up about being gay, becoming the first openly homosexual footballer to come out while still playing for Australia's A-League. In an Instagram post, he said, and I quote, "As a gay footballer, I know there are other players living in silence. I want to help change this to show that everyone is welcome in the game of football and deserves the right to be their authentic self." And one piece of positive news before we leave you for today. 54-year-old Anita Anand, of Indian origin, is now Canada's defense minister in Justin Trudeau's government. She previously served as procurement minister and led Canada's efforts to purchase vaccines in response to COVID-19 pandemic. Anand will replace longtime defense minister, also of Indian origin, Harjit Sajjan. Well, that brings us to the end of Just the News. Thank you so much for listening. Here's your quick quiz for today, so I know that you're paying attention. There's an Australian footballer who's come out as being gay, being the first now openly homosexual footballer in Australia. Tell us what his name is in the comment section. Also, we have a discussion that's uploaded on our YouTube page with Apar Gupta of the Indian Freedom Foundation. We're going to be talking about the Supreme Court judgment on Pegasus and breaking it down, understanding what that really means for our rights. That's on our YouTube page. Do take a look at it, though. Thank you for watching. Good night.